Welcome to Lumpkin Listens. This is a podcast that was created especially for you, the people of Lumpkin County. Every month, I attend county meetings, listen to residents, and ask the questions that matter most to our community. The first part of each episode is all about getting to know someone who shapes our county. This month, I'm excited to sit down with Rhett Stringer. We'll have a conversation, we'll hear his perspective, and maybe you'll learn something new along the way. But don't stop listening there. After the interview comes Lumpkin Matters. This is the second part of our program. That's where I bring the tough questions you want me to ask. And we'll take a closer look at the issues affecting our county and encourage honest conversations about the future of Lumpkin. If Lumpkin Listens and Lumpkin Matters helps just one person become more informed, question what is being allowed to happen, or feel more connected to what's happening in our county, then we have accomplished exactly what we set out to do. Now let's get started. Go. Hi everybody. Welcome to Lumpkin Listens with Catherine James. This is our very first podcast, and it is designed especially for people who live and work in Lumpkin County. We're here to help. First, we're going to have updates and news you can use, and then we're going to have tips at the very end of the program about how to keep your home from being stolen right out from under you. We take our topics very seriously, but we don't take ourselves so serious. So relax, kick back, enjoy the fun. And I do want to do a special shout out to App Studios and Connectability for all they do in the community. We really appreciate you guys. Now let's get started with program one. First of all, you guys may realize that we just had a very important election. Part of that election was electing a new chairman for the Lumpkin County Board of Commissioners. Now y'all may be thinking, didn't you just run for that position? Well, I did. And I am so appreciative to have the brand new chairman join us today, Rhett Stringer. So Rhett, with that, I'm going to start with the first question. And it's been about 6 weeks since you've been in office. Tell everybody how it's going so far.
I appreciate you doing this and taking the time out to and try to inform the public. We've hit the ground running. It's been wide open. I think they stockpiled about 3 months worth of stuff on us. Kind of had a short board there for a while. We've had tons of meetings with DOT, meetings with new commissioners coming on. It's been very busy, but so far it's going good. I think you've been a part of some of the things that are kind of going on. We've got a new committee formed. We've got comp plan going on. A lot of stuff going that I think is going to yield some good results for our community.
Perfect. Okay, I'm going to turn now to a topic that's near and dear to everybody's heart, and that is taxes. Recently, people have been receiving their property tax assessments. Those values, in some cases, have been a lot higher than what people expected. So give everybody a thought about what to expect locally regarding taxes.
Okay. I don't think it's any question to anybody what the economy is yielding on. There's nothing that's immune from increases, unfortunately, and home values are part of that. I deal with it every day in insurance world, fuel, everything's going up. The parts of stuff, equipment, labor, everything, and the county's not exempt from that, unfortunately. So we don't have a ton of things that are even really being added in the budget. We're just battling to maintain, and unfortunately, we know how the county's funded. I was very, very hopeful that the local homestead option sales tax would pass and help give our property owners and homeowners a little bit of relief on that front, but unfortunately we fell short. I'm hoping some of the political games will be over after November, and that'll be something that becomes reality next year. A lot of people are confused, mad, don't understand the L-host, and what that is it's a penny, it'd be additional penny sales tax, and the only thing that money can be used for is to offset the county M&O piece of your personal property homeowners, your homestead property. So that money can't be used for capital, it can't be used for pet projects, it can't be used for anything other than that. And every county would have an opportunity to do that, cities included. And the local voters get to decide. So the bill that failed at the legislature just a month ago, 3 or 4 weeks ago, the actual legislation to allow the sales tax has already been passed. but all that was down there at the Capitol was each community had sent a request for local legislation to our representative for them to just allow us to put it on the referendum for the voters to choose. So it's frustrating that wasn't done. It wasn't anything forceful on anybody. They basically didn't let us choose whether we wanted to do that locally or not. It's kind of disappointing, but I'm hoping it'll come back to fruition. But that would have, for Lumpkin County, now it's different. The reason it's been such an issue at the state level is because every community is totally different. So in Lumpkin County alone, we only needed 0.88 of a penny to completely wipe out the county portion on a homesteaded parcel. So the remainder of that, the way the law is written, would go towards non-homesteaded properties. So it would, anybody that had a homesteaded parcel in Lumpkin County, which is your primary home and up to 5 acres, would have paid zero on the county portion. Now that does not include the school.
Right.
So for Lumpkin County, it's a no-brainer. There's counties that would have to have a penny and a half, which isn't as good, but it's still a chunk off the landowner's backs towards property tax. So if you're in a tourist-based community, have a college in your community, there's a lot of
We do.
talk about what,
Oh, yeah.
what the good and the bad that the college does here locally, and a sales tax gives those people that don't own property in the county an opportunity to participate in the things that we have to fund locally. So that's kind of it's the only real way to have that trade-off there. It would not hurt my feelings one bit if a visitor or a student in Lumpkin County helped support the services that we have to provide here locally. So.
But what was voted down was that potential 1% sales tax, in essence.
It's already allowed, but what was voted down was letting local communities put it on the ballot.
And decide. And they decide for themselves.
Correct. So they could have, there wasn't, all the counties didn't even request legislation.
Right.
We did. We basically
right.
I signed a letter and sent it to Representative Wade and Senator Gooch saying we would like for you to introduce local legislation for Lumpkin County, and the city did the same thing, to have it on the ballot and let the voters choose if we want a penny sales tax
Right.
instead of homestead property tax. So they didn't even allow us to do that, which is disheartening.
Yeah, it's very disappointing. I know when I sat through the budget meetings for 2027 for the county, I know that the budget for the county is now going to jump from 33 million to 35 million. Any thoughts around how do you plan to raise the millage rate or anything around that?
I have no intentions of ever increasing the millage rate. We did it 8-9 years ago when we enacted a salary study. And since I've been in office, that's the only time the millage rate's been increased. Unfortunately, and I've had an issue with this since I've been in office. I can show you on a little chart where the politicians decreased the millage rate, but your tax bill still went up.
Correct.
Due to the inflationary growth and these assessments that are out of control. So the whole system as a whole is flawed. Unfortunately, at the county level, all we can do is hoop and holler about our opinion. There's got to be a better way. I mean, at the end of the day, it's a tax on unrealized gains. I mean, if your house isn't for sale, then it's kind of irrelevant. I hate the state likes to talk about, the widowed old lady getting priced out of her home, and it's true. It's probably not every street corner thing, but it's real. And I mean, I wish there was some way that you could capture. If you bought a house for $500,000 in 10 acres, make that be the value. There's no reason for a bureaucrat to tell you what it's worth. It's worth that. If I sold it to you for $500,000, you agreed that it was worth $500,000, and I agreed that it was worth $500,000. So let that be the value, and make me raise your taxes. Don't let somebody else that's not elected increase the value, and then me say that I didn't raise your taxes. That's my opinion. That's been my opinion. I'm probably wrong. Politicians don't like that, but that's how I feel about it.
Well, also being a large tract landowner and having properties, you'd be sensitive to that, and I can understand that. As everybody who's got a house here in Lumpkin County,
Well,
I do know.
We wonder. I don't want to interrupt you, but just one little add thing. We wonder. Nobody likes to see a old tract of farmland be developed, but when it comes down to it, people have to be able to afford to eat. So they may not sell the whole thing, but if you can't afford to keep it, and you may not have kids that are interested in it, what else do you do? I mean, you're causing the problem that you're trying to fix, all in one fell swoop.
Yeah, you should be allowed to sell it. the key question, and we won't go down
Shouldn't have
this
to sell
road,
it.
but you shouldn't have to if you don't want to. If you want to keep it in your
You
family.
should be able to afford to keep it. That's
That's
the
the big difference.
That's the
It is
issue.
the difference. I know that when families run into having to tighten their expenses, they really work hard at home to make sure that they're not overspending. Any thoughts or ideas around reducing expenses then?
The county does a good job internally. The staff that's not constitutional officers or elected officials. You know, we had a vacancy in finance probably around a year and a half ago. County manager kind of does an evaluation, kind of sees what happens with that person gone, and that position hasn't been filled and may not ever be refilled. So I mean, the staff does a good job, or the county manager does a good job of kind of reevaluating those things when that kind of stuff happens. You know, let's try it for a little while and see if we can make it without them. The county runs pretty lean. I mean, I'm a penny pincher myself, you know, and I've been involved in it for 11 and a half years now. Granted, there's things. The issue with county government is everybody has their favorite thing. You know, I might could live from now on perfectly fine without an animal shelter. That may be the only thing the county does that even matters to you. So it's hard when you get down to it. You know, everybody wants everything to be slashed, but if you ask 10 different people what to cut, you're going to get 10 different answers.
Yeah.
So that's what makes it hard. You know, I mean, we try to run them all lean, but at the end of the day, the way this inflation stuff is going, you know, you're about to the point where you have to just decide what you're going to cut. Because they're, other than sheriff's positions and fire positions, the county hasn't really added or done anything major in the last 8 or 10 years, other than to try to maintain the level of service that we currently provide, which is, it hurts in one way because, you know, we have to sit there and listen to all the elected officials and department heads every year beg and plead for help. I mean, you've been to those meetings. I mean, they have their real needs. They're not wants. It's not Christmas list stuff. It's real stuff, and it's hard to tell them no.
Yeah.
But it's also hard to go sit down at lunch when everybody's taxes go up $500 a year. So, I mean, it's a balance. Everything in county government's a balance.
It is a balance, and I'll tell the audience here that there's, in addition to things that you said, and I do think that so many people within the local government are conscientious. I do. They really work hard to try to keep things in budget and, as I call it, within their own swim lane. There's other ideas for people as far as managing costs. One of those is just to review old agreements. It does not cost us anything. Review old agreements and look at renegotiating those agreements because maybe you could get a better deal. Another one is requiring a return on investment analysis because when you look at expenditures, consolidating any of those agreements where possible, you can also identify what we call duplications. Duplications in effort, duplications in responsibilities, because things kind of grow sometimes and morph out of whack. Another idea is when anything has to go out for bid, when something goes out for bid, even if it's not required, think about possibly making a competitive bid. If you've got to get a quote, going out and using a competitive bid process, even if that's not required. And that could be another way to save some money. One of the things, the concepts that I like, is called zero-based budget review. And that's a fancy name because here's what it really means. It means asking the question, would we fund this today if it didn't already exist? If it didn't already exist. If a program or project cannot demonstrate value after several years, would you keep it? That's really what it means. It's very, very simple. And those things and those ideas coupled with what you mentioned might be a way so we don't have to increase taxes so much for our residents. Before we move off taxes, though, I do want to let everybody know something that I learned in the last few weeks. Remember me mentioning about the assessments. The assessments everybody has on their property. 1,900 assessments were sent out in error. And Rhett, I don't know if you knew this or not. You probably do.
Unfortunately, I do.
1,900 were sent out with mistakes. So that value that you have on that assessment sheet possibly could be wrong. If that's the case, you may not even know if it's wrong, but if it doesn't look right, make sure you get in touch with the tax assessor's office. Danny and his team have been superb when I've called for information, gone by to see them. They've been excellent to work with me. Here's what they're going to do. Here's the big question, though, because I said, Danny, how would you people know if theirs is wrong or not? They are already going out and they've identified the 1,900. They're changing your value if it was incorrect. So when you get the bill later this year, you'll be able to have the very new assessed value that will be reflected in whatever that tax bill is. So that's on its way. But I wanted to mention that to y'all because if it looks like something is not reasonable, make sure you call the tax assessor's office. Those numbers are given right there on that form. And then if it still is not what you want, if you still feel like you need more of a voice, you can always go through an appeal. And that's described also on the tax assessors.
Can I add a tiny bit to that?
Sure.
You know, most counties have been lobbying the state to change the way those estimated tax bills are sent out because it gets everybody in an uproar, and 90% of the time it ends up being less because they use the current year's millage rate and apply it.
Right.
And so they finally took that off this year, and I don't really think we accomplished the goal. It seems they always have to do something to kind of make it confusing again. They can't be clear cut and easy. So you'll notice this year you don't have an estimated tax amount on there, but you have an estimated savings amount if you have any exemptions or anything like that. So it's still confusing.
It is confusing because
so we're gonna keep working on that.
Yeah, because it's not the bill. It's just the assessed value, and if you do have any things that are taken off, that's going to be at the bottom of that sheet.
Correct.
So let's move to growth because that's been a big deal. People still, one of the things that people are still saying, you and I were both in the comprehensive plan meeting last night. People are still worried that Lumpkin County is going to turn into Dawsonville and Forsyth. What can you think? What can you tell folks about that?
Regarding the comp plan, the story is the same. I was involved in it 10 years ago and 5 years ago, and the story hasn't changed. We want 90% of the county to stay the same, and we want some of the stuff everybody else has got around 400. So strategically, we've been this is 10-year stuff. That's one issue with government, that it moves slow. But for the last 10 years, we've been trying to really make that 400 corridor not so much a welcoming place for that kind of stuff, but also kind of a place to catch it before it goes anywhere else and spreads throughout the county. So there's very limited infrastructure there, water and sewer. That's really the only place in the county we even have it, and that's all intentional. Everybody wanted a grocery store. We got a grocery store down there, and now traffic's kind of become an issue.
Yes.
So it's real. I mean, it's real. So it was discussed some last night. You were there. We want to keep everything the way it is here that we all love, but unfortunately other people love it too. So everybody wants to come see what we have.
Well, that brings up.
It's a good thing.
It's a
but
good
it causes bad things as well. So it's the trade-off, like everything.
Yes, but that brings to another topic of tourism. So if we're going to be a tourism town and continue to be a tourism
That's what we're
town,
good at.
It's what we know. I mean, Hallmark thinks so. A lot of other people do. We like the tourists to come up. We just had a big event with
Fox News likes it too.
Yeah, they like it. That was just yesterday. And then we've got a big 4th of July, and we do tourism really well. To me, it makes sense. If we're going to have tourism and continue that as a focus, then we would do everything we could to make Dahlonega and Lumpkin County special. If we replicate with franchises, if we replicate what's at Exit 14, as I call it, or in Dawsonville, then we're not really, that first impression when you come into town, we're not really being as special.
Mm-hmm.
So that's just more of my commentary, the way I think that way. But if we were able to develop and look at special shops, things that make us unique, so when they actually get to us, and a lot of people still think that when you get to 460, it's part of the city, but it's not.
No.
It's part of the county. But when you get there, we reinforce what the city's trying to promote, tourism, etc., with those same thoughts, the same special treatment, special shops, and so forth.
Kind of the feel.
It makes us different than everybody else as they come up 400.
You can probably tell looking at the hospital. We have a lot of it's kind of visual aesthetics type stuff, but we've got regulations in the Gateway Corridor Overlay District that kind of encourage that. Like I'm proud of how the hospital looks. You don't see a sea of cars and a big asphalt parking lot. You kind of see trees, and you kind of see the top 2/3 of the building. And that's all part of that regulation that we have down there.
And first impressions make a difference.
Big time.
They really
Big
do,
time.
because that's going to be, if you're tourism, if you're whatever Forsyth is morphed into, or whatever Dawson is morphed into, I don't know. But if you're tourism, impressions make a big difference.
Yeah.
So let's move on to this. You've got two years in this term. What are your top priorities?
Top priorities. One is just kind of a shakeup. We had a county manager that served for 20 something years, I believe, 17, 18 years, right around 20 years, and then a chairman that served for 14 years. And so I kind of, on day one, I went to their weekly staff meeting and just kind of said, hey, y'all all know me, you know how I am, I've been here, but I just want to tell you that things are going to be different. So I've asked each of them to go back and look through all their individual policies for their departments, whether it's personnel, whether it's operational stuff. And I said, if there's stuff you think, you know, that we've done for 20 years that you agree with, let's keep it, tweak it, whatever we need to do. If there's stuff that you think needs to be in there, it's not, let's do it. Let's add it all. Let's get it all flushed out. Because that's, as you well know, you know, a lot of the issues that the controversial stuff we've run into the last 5 or 8 years has been kind of stuff that had dust on it in our regulations, whether it was personnel stuff or land use stuff, you know, and we kind of like, oh gosh, that's in there. So now we just have to deal with it. So we're kind of trying to do an overhaul of everything that's on paper at the county level, whether it's department level stuff, personnel stuff. That way everybody knows what to expect. There's no, you know, people don't get fired for something they didn't know. If they sign an agreement, you know, an employment agreement and says, here's the expectations, you know, people fire themselves. So stuff like that, I think, is a huge deal. We've finally got land under contract on Ben Higgins for a fire station. I'm going to do everything that I can to at least have some construction started there before I get the boot potentially. So that's been a huge deal. That's the last big gap in Lumpkin County.
Yeah.
For fire protection. Those people there, I see it every day. They pay more for homeowners insurance than anybody in the county, you know, and that's where a lot of the growth is in that area, you know, and it's interesting to me. I'm kind of a numbers kind of guy, you know, and you look at the data and you can't base fire protection solely on rooftops because it's really almost opposite whenever you look at the numbers. Some of the most densely populated areas have the least amount of calls.
That's
So
right.
it's kind of an interesting numbers game you have to play. But from an ISO standpoint, it's that whole area is a nightmare, and we're fortunate that the guys that are purchasing the polyportables property are very, very, very receptive and willing to work with the county and get that out there because that's a big commercial business there that has no fire protection. So that'll be a big deal. Also, they'll be able to help back up town. Obviously, town's the busiest one. So you know, right now we're sending Station 4 down on Chestera to cover town.
I know.
So
I know.
That's a big one.
It is a big deal.
That's a big one. Getting land use stuff revamped is a huge one. We kind of I kind of feel like we're in a little lull right now. There's not really anything big, crazy pressing. Some of this stuff that we thought was coming is kind of petered out. They haven't really had their ducks in a row.
So wait, not another
okay.
Iron Mountain, right?
No.
Good.
No.
Okay.
No. The townhome bunch has kind of missed the mark 3 or 4 times now. I think the board is done entertaining that.
Okay.
So several of those things have kind of peaked and died back off.
Okay.
So I feel like now is a perfect time to kind of dive in. And then also we want to kind of tie some of the stuff in. The best thing from my standpoint to come from the comprehensive plan is all the survey results. A lot of that stuff I feel like I already know it just because I hear and talk about it every single day. But the survey results are a big deal, and they kind of highlight some of the stuff. And we want to make our changes or tweaks that we're making in the land use stuff kind of mirror that. And most of it already does, but you can't ever have enough survey results, which I hope people will go do the survey. There's 1,400 people have done the dang survey.
Let's tell them about that because we're going to send that out on social media also. You want to just tell them you want me to?
Yeah,
Just
I mean, the last 5 years ago, it was pathetic. It was less than 1,000 people did a survey, and we have over 36,000 people in the county now, and we know every one of them has an opinion. So you have an opportunity to share your opinion on a survey that we will use to craft and guide the county forward. So do the survey. It takes 3 or 4 minutes.
It's on the website.
I did it. I don't know how long it took.
It took me
A couple
2 or 3
minutes. You can do it on your phone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Y'all, that's very important. It's a comprehensive plan survey. You can find it on the website for lumpkincounty.gov. If it's not there easily, look under planning. I know Vanessa's going to put it there.
We'll make it easy to find.
Make it easy. Please go out and fill that out because this tells the authorities and the local elected officials what people want. This is my 15th year participating. I've been involved for the last, so that means 3. They do them every 5 years, so y'all please do that.
It's not stuff that we don't know. It's just It's nice to have a pie chart and say 65% of people
want rural
this
character.
is what people want.
Like they said.
It's nice to be able to see it because you can kind of you could write it down on half a sheet of paper, what you know it's going to say, but it's nice to be able to see the data all combined.
And what's real important is once that data is gathered, what happens to it after the fact? Is it dismissed or is it actually acted on? So that'll be really, y'all, where the rubber hits the road. So let me say this: you've got 2 more years. It's going to be interesting to watch things as they unfold, and I do wish you and the county, everybody. Of course, my interest is the success of the county, and I do wish you all the best. We could keep talking for a long, long time, but I'm sure y'all know how to get in touch with Rhett. I know you're going to know how to get in touch with me. We've got more on the program, but I'm going to finish with Rhett as I usually do, not only thanking you, but I always like to have something for people who are guests. And for Rhett, this is going to become like an ongoing gift.
I burned through my last 6.
A Dr. Pepper. Every time I've met with Rhett, this is the only thing I've ever seen this man drink. So take this as a thank you. And y'all, thank you so much. We'll be right back. All right, guys. Next, we're going to talk about how to prevent your home from being stolen right from under you. I have in my hand 2 fans. I know what you're thinking. What does this mean? This means an acronym for a filing notification system from the state of Georgia. It's called Filing Activity Notification System, or FANS. So I want you guys to remember that. The thing about FANS is this program is free. It's offered with the state of Georgia, and here's how it works, short and sweet. Go online and you can actually register with your name to prevent your home from title and deed fraud. Did you know, and this is hard to believe, but somebody could actually just go into the court of clerk's office and all they have to do is just say, I want so-and-so's property transferred to me. No ID, nothing. All that's been changed. So the good news is it's a rare occurrence, but in high growth areas and places that are more desirable, things happen. So you want to absolutely prevent this from happening to you and your property. Go online. I did it with my phone the other day. Easy peasy. The last thing that you've got to remember is this. Do it with all of your name variations. Meaning, when you go online, let's say it's 4th of July this weekend. Let's take a name, Benjamin Franklin. Put online Benjamin Franklin, but you also need to sign up as Ben Franklin, and then sign up as B Franklin. Okay, so it needs to have all your names, and this way you're notified if any fraudulent activity happens. Okay. Now you may be saying, well, what about my middle name? You didn't mention that. If you've got a middle name, do it. But I didn't mention it for Ben Franklin because you know why? Trivia. He didn't have a middle name. So anyway, make sure that you get that covered, and it's called FANS. Don't forget. And lastly, I want you guys to remember this weekend is 4th of July, and we are a tourism town, and we love 4th of July, 250th. I want to make sure that you support the town. You guys go in. We've got a parade, a Declaration of Independence reading on the square that morning, antique car show, fireworks at night, stuff for the kids at Hancock. Make sure that you take advantage of being a tourist in your own town. And as we close, I want to tell you guys that we are here for everybody in Lumpkin. We're here to help you. If you want to contact me, get in touch with me at talktomee@lumpkinlistens.com. And don't forget to share. Share with your friends, encourage them to join us. We'll be doing this once a month. Next month, August 6th, we'll have a whole new program for you with a new guest. Thank you guys very much. LumpkinListens.com. Have a great 4th, and remember, there's always more to come. Thank you. Welcome to Lumpkin Matters. These are the questions that need to be asked. Before we get started, I want to thank everyone for sending me the questions that you have to talktomee@lumpkinlistens.com. I appreciate every one of them. Now, some questions do come from conversations after the meetings I attend each month. I go to county commission meetings, city council meetings, and board of education meetings. You name it. And trust me, y'all, you'll see me there. And every time, residents stop me with concerns and questions they want answered. So here we go. Question 1. When is the city and the university going to figure out how to work together? Residents are frustrated because UNG takes property out of the tax digest when they buy property. One resident even asked specifically about the impact of the university purchasing Bellamy Apartments. With that property, do y'all know $20 million came off of the tax digest in January of this year? So the question is, who is going to make up that lost revenue? Will the taxpayers end up paying more taxes? Next question. When will Lumpkin County pursue grants for major equipment the way other communities do? For example, the city of Cleveland was able to purchase a $1 million fire truck instead of paying for that out of tax dollars. It was by a grant. So residents want to know, are we actively pursuing those same opportunities? If not, why not? And when will that change? And finally, this question is a little more personal to me. When are we going to put an end to the us versus them mentality? I wasn't raised that way, and I don't think you were either. I continue to hear negative comments about people who were not born here and those who were born here, between people who live in the city and people who live in the county, and between the older and younger generations. The truth is simple. We are all Lumpkin. We are all Lumpkin. In closing, I want to invite you to email me your questions for Mayor Sam Norton, our next month's guest. And if I don't see you at a meeting, I will see you next month. And until then, remember, Lumpkin, we are always watching and we are always listening.